Hi, welcome to the next edition of Standards Meta, Launching It. And today we have a little bit to talk about regarding the meta shares, the shifts. It is a little interesting how, how the deck is the meta is shaping up as a whole. We're starting to get a little bit more, I think, 4 decks actually becoming a factor instead of just it being a 2 deck format. So that's kind of exciting news going into Final Fantasy if you're playing the Final Fantasy meta. So that is good news. So let's dive into that before, of course, next week we'll be probably having some Final Fantasy decks featured in the Sweet decks, but we have 3 decks to talk about that did. I'm not sure if the first deck actually did quite well. I can't remember. It got top 32 in the challenge, but how many people are in the challenge? I'm not sure. But let's dive in. So, Is It Prowess is dipped by basically 2% in a fourth. And Red Deck Wins is taking over that slot. Red Deck Wins is actually pretty favored into Is It Prowess. It's just faster than it. So it's really probably also better in Omniscience. But Dimir mid-range increasing. That's really good into the aggro matchups. Pixie, a little bit of uptick. Overlord's coming back before it rotates. And then we have Zoria's Control making a little bit of an increase. And then we have Oculus still dipping. Pixie still dipping. And then we have a few other mid-range piles and control decks still dipping. Overall, not a lot of shifts here, but like I said, it is nice to see 6% increase to Dimir mid-range, pushing it into the 4 decks being more than 10% in the meta share. But then again, once you get past the 10%, the 4 decks that are 10%, you kind of just drop off pretty much in meta shares. So this format is now kind of like more like Pioneer, but less diverse. So overall, you kind of got to take that, I guess. Still, this is still a very huge primary format to test with for RCQCs and stuff like that. But let's dive into the 3 decks that I have. First is this spicy deck that I'm not sure. I think it got top 32. It literally just got 32. I can't remember. But weirdly enough, it's playing 3 catcher modes, which is kind of weird to me. There's not a lot of ways of triggering it. Weirdly enough, the invasion technically does that. So you could flip the invasion that does trigger catcher modes. And we are playing the insert so that we can remove 5 counters. So we could turn on the overlords if we want. It is at sorcery speed, which is kind of sus. But, And then we have up the beanstalk after we cheat in our overlord, draw a card. Binding also helps trigger the catcher modes. And then we have our ramp piece with Elf. But we don't really have a lot going on in the first few turns, it looks like. We have Elf maybe into a 2-drop. And then that's kind of about it. Sideboard, we have the sweet looking art Pulse over here to just kind of remove a bunch of the same card. Duress for control and mid-range. We have Storm Brood, my bad. As a way to hit on artifacts, enchantments, small creatures. If we need to, Patch can hit enchantments or also can draw a card if we need to, but it also hit Atraxa while it's still relevant, which I guess with the Overlords on the rise, you might see Atraxa there, but I can't really remember. So yeah, overall the deck looks kind of cool. It's a different take on Overlords, but let me know in the comment section what you guys think about these decks. Let's dive into the next one. So there's this Selesnya aggro deck built around Heirloom, and then Bright Gear Hulk, and then we have our 1-drop stuff with Inspector, Might, Reliquary, Ghost Vacuum, Wormlet. We have some Kellens, some Sentinels. Bunnycorn's kind of cool. Shelter by Ghost. Some tutor targets down here for your Gear Hulk with Boots and Walker. Sideboard, we have more Graveyard Hate with Vacuum. We have a little more Enchantment and Artifact Hate with Might. Hand Disruption and Wrath Protection also with Invasion. And then we have a Baloth for the Pixie self-bounce decks. Pick Your Poison for Artifact and Enchantment Hate. Can hit on Atraxa, but not really as relevant. It's mainly probably here to get Cutter, which is quite actually a very potent card in the current meta. That is Selesnya kind of artifact aggro for standard. Let's get into the last list. So last on my list is this Boros Shell. Playing the Guardian, some dolls, more dolls, Grelv, some claws. And then we have Delaney to help double trigger everything with Voice of Victory. Double trigger that, potentially kind of sweet. Innocence to draw extra cards. Shelter by Ghost, Torch the Tower for removal. More torches and Shelter by Ghost for more removal. Get Lost, which also get planeswalkers and enchantments. Cub as a creature that can hit enchantments. 4 Mage Bane Lizards for like decks like Prowess, where they cast a lot of instant sorceries. Innocence for extra card draw against mid-range and control. Authority of the Consuls for aggro. Artifact and enchantment removal for Lauren. And then we have Frenzy for like mid-range pieces that you need to deal 5 damage to remove, like a Shield Rid, but it's not really relevant. Also could get a decent-sized mouse, but keep in mind you will take some damage from the death trigger, so keep that in mind. And if they do go, I guess, extra frisky, you could always deal 5 to a challenger. Just do not hit, please, do not hit the Screaming Nemesis. That's my only word of advice. That is all I have to talk to you guys for today. If you guys like this kind of content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Talk to you guys next time.